All right, shalom, shalom. I'm going to start off this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the bishops of great millstone that rule well, that teach well, while learning the truth 100% according to the Bible. And I also want to say shalom to the elect, the 144,000 men, the prophets, the servants scattered abroad the four corners of the earth, and shalom to the Aqua, which are the sisters that are sincere, and your children, shalom. And in today's video is going to be going into another video about basically, the times in which we're living in, which are some very serious times, some very evil times, And I'm going to read the title of this video. It says, a woman accused of attacking a manager at Memphis McDonald's, right? So I'm going to get a precept real quick before we start this video, just to show you what kind of times it is that we're living in. I'm going to go to Matthew 24, verse 12. Matthew 24, verse 12. Bear with me. Right? And it says, and because iniquity shall abound. That word iniquity means sins upon sin, right? Shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And in the Greek, that word cold means psychos. So it goes back into people behaving crazy. And we're going to look at that word crazy, right? Bear with me. Crazy. It means mentally deranged, especially as manifested in a wild or aggressive way, right? So synonyms for the word crazy will be mad, insane, out of one's mind, deranged, demented, crazed, unbalanced, unhinged, unstable, or disturbed. And a lot of these people out here, they are very disturbed, basically. A lot of the people out here are unhinged, man. These men and these women in Babylon the Great, So we're going to get into this video. Like I said, it's going to be a video about, basically things that are happening in the earth. And, it's getting serious out here, man. The Lord is increasing the evils day by day. So, we're going to get into this video. So before I start this video, I also want to say that this is under the 1976 Copyright Act. Fair use, fair use. I'm not getting paid for this for this video. It's only for educational purposes only. So with that being said, I'm going to get into it. Right. And we're going to see what's happening.
At 5 on your news leader, stunning video shows an alleged attacker striking again. A woman accused of attacking a teenage Cheddar's employee is now charged in an assault at a McDonald's drive-thru. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Stephanie Skurlock.
And I'm Greg Hurst. Caitlin Brantley is accused of fighting a McDonald's manager, and that brawl is all caught on camera. WRG's Raven Copeland joins us now live with more. And Raven, I know the district attorney's office actually revoked Brantley's bond in this recent incident. Fill us in more.
That's right, Greg and Stephanie. The DA's office says the suspect is a danger to the community. The DA's office went on to say that her violent behavior in both incidents.
And as you can see from the video that was just placed, right, that we all just seen, is basically was a so-called B-dub, the average BLACK woman, allegedly, right? And she was beating up a younger female in a fast food place, probably over something petty, like some food, some fries, her not getting her bucket of hot sauce or whatever it may have been that she might have ordered, right? But, right, I'm going to get a precept again for that. Ephesians, Ephesians chapter 5, and it says, and I'm going to start at verse 15. And it says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the times, because the days are evil, right? So that's what you brothers and sisters are supposed to be doing out here, man. You see what's happening. You can't even go to a so-called restaurant, and I advise you to not be eating at these places anyway, churches, Checkers, and, places like that where there's a lot of contaminated things within the food, not even going to go into that. That's another lesson. But, you just want to be careful when you're out here at these places, man, when you're attending certain events, going into certain areas, certain places. It could be going to the Walmart or going to your average in the around the neighborhood, convenience store. You might be going somewhere just where you would go thinking that it'll be peaceful, right? But seeing as though the time we're living in now, people having that's what I started off the video with, that's St. Matthew 24:12, right? The love of many waxing cold. These people are crazy out here. So, I mean, you can go anywhere you feel to go within this society, and you might succumb to something like this, or you might not succumb to it, but you can obviously see it, which letting you know that it's getting very violent out here, man. And that's due to the Lord allowing the spiritual activity, that fourth dimension is thinning, which means a lot of the things that are happening in the spiritual realm is making itself made known, is manifesting on the earth. That's why, when you got Esau, opening up these Soren portals, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua giving this devil the power to open up CERN portals, to open up dimensions and portals to bring in spiritual wickedness from the left hand side into this into this third dimension. And obviously we about to start seeing these things. That's why you about to see people getting worse and worse out here, man. So I'm gonna read this Ephesians 5:15-16 again. It says, "See then that you walk circumspectly." You need to be paying attention. Don't just be out there, walking about, your everyday life thinking that things is all good when it's not, man. When there's hell and chaos out here happening in this earth, man. And it says, "Not as fools, but as wise," right? As it tells you in Proverbs 22:3, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself," right? In the confines of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, a prudent man is hiding himself in the confines of the Lord because he knows that it's evil out here. That's why it's important to stay prayed up. As it says in 1 Thessalonians 5:17, pray without ceasing, man. You must always be occupied in prayer. Because, things like this, you want to try to avoid situations like this. And if you're not aware, you're not being prudent, you're not being wise of what's happening and what times we're in, guess what? You could possibly find yourself in a situation like this, unawares, man. So I'm going to read it again. "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the times," right? But because the days are evil. And they very are evil, man, very much evil, but the Lord tells us that these will be the signs in which we're living in, right? And let me go to that second address. It tells you that in the book of Second Address. Bear with me. The water of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Let me go to that. All right. Bear with me, Salakia. All right. All right, bear with me. Second address 14. All right. Salakia. It took me a little minute to pull this precept up. Salakia. All right. This is Second Esdras chapter 14, verse 16. And it says, "For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter." Right. So we living in those times now, those greater evils, man. People out here, getting clucked on the side of the head and Burger King and et cetera, et cetera. It's just a lot of evil things out here happening, man. I just watched a video not too long ago that the brother Ariel Shaw put up. Well, I didn't watch it, but I seen it, Salakia. And that was this little girl that was, deleted, man. And she ultimately got deleted by her dad, man. Her own dad was the one that deleted this little girl. So that just goes to show you what evil times in which it are that we're living in, man, which is furthermore important why it is to stay prayed up, man. So this is Second Esdras chapter 14, verse 17. And it says, "For look how much the world," right? Meaning the Eon, Esau's Edom's age, which is Babylon the Great, this empire of the Edomites, the devil, which is the world that they're governing right now in wickedness. It tells you in Job 9:24, the earth is given over to the hand of the wicked, right? So we see the wicked is ruling the earth right now. So that's what we understand, right? "For look how much the world shall be weaker through age, so much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein." And we're seeing those evils, man. The Lord said what is coming is evils and only evils. It tells you in the book of St. Matthew chapter 24, verse 21, and I'm going to go to that. About these times in which we're about to come into, man. This is the beginning of it. And now we're seeing that we're getting close to why people are going to be out here acting in the way they're acting, coming into the times of Jacob's trouble and etc. Because these people are unhinged. Going back into what I read earlier about the word crazy, people are unbalanced out here. And that's because they're spiritually unbalanced. They don't have the Ruach HaKodesh operating within them. They don't have the Holy Spirit. They have unclean spirits, demons, That's why these people are acting and behaving in a way that is so disgusting, so, appalling, and, it'll have you in disbelief. Like, man, these people are sick out here, man. But this is Matthew 24:21 in the KJV, and it says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be." So the times we coming into a Jacob trouble, you see why the Lord is allowing Esau, Edom to ultimately come down with that great wrath upon these 2/3 of our people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, which makes up the Hebrew Israelites as well, with the Specklebirds that may look like these heathen nations, but their seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's because these people are evil, man. Very evil out here and dark, man, demonic. So we're going to get back into this video. Let it play a little bit more. Then, Lord's will, we get a few more precepts. All right.
Office went on to say that her violent behavior in both incidents demonstrates a clear and ongoing pattern of dangerous conduct. Now, as you mentioned, she's one of the 4 people accused of attacking a former Cheddar's employee. WREG got his reaction to her recent arrest.
All right, Salakia, and I'm going to get another precept that came to mind that I forgot to get. And you saw who that was in there that was behind that crime. That was a so-called B-dub, a so-called BLACK woman, right? And the Lord tells us about these women, man, And let me go to that precept. This is Ecclesiasticus 25:19, and it says, "All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her." See, that goes to show you how wicked that these females are, man. And I guarantee you, the reason she probably did what she did unto that young girl, or the reason they was going back and forth like that, it was probably over some food, or probably over something very simple that could have been talked out and, handled with logic. But we see that these beasts out here, they're not logical. They don't think they don't think using wisdom. They just operate out of emotion, out of strife, out of hate, out of anger, and that's why you see a lot of these events and things like this happening throughout the world, right? And it's mainly going involved in dealing with women, man, So I'm gonna get another precept about that, Salakia. It was another, I believe. All right, the water of the Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right. Bear with me, brothers. All right. This is Ecclesiasticus 26:25. And it says, "A shameless woman," right? Meaning, and we're going to go to that word shameless so you can get a better understanding of the word shameless, right? Because these people are very shameless. They don't care what they do. They just do things, right? The word shameless means a person or their conduct characterized by or a lack of shame, right? And when we go into that word, they basically have a lack of shame, which means they don't care. They're out here doing whatever it is they want that is deemed pleasing unto them. They walk after their own lust, their own thoughts. And the Lord tells you that it'll be a lot of people like that in the last days, right? And here goes similar words to that word shameless. It means blatant, right? And these people are blatantly disrespectful, blatantly against Yahweh Shem Yahushai through their actions, right? Unabashed, unashamed, without shame, unembarrassed, right? Because how can, you got to have some level of respect about yourself, in this thing of ours, but that shows you these women, especially the so-called BLACK woman, they don't really have any respect for themselves, man. And you could tell they don't through their actions, through the things they say out their mouths, through the way they behave. They behave like wild animals, man. And that's why I brought out this precept, Ecclesiasticus 26:25. "A shameless woman shall be counted as a dog." And we all know what a female dog is. "But she that is shamefaced will fear the Lord." So you sincere sisters out there, you see this video, this is the woman that you don't want to try to walk in. You don't want to try to have the characteristics of a woman like this. And I know a lot of you sincere sisters don't, but this just goes to show you, man, how wicked it is out here and how evil it is in the times in which we are living in, man. Very dark, evil times, man, But like I said, I'm going to let this video keep going, right?
Because it's like she not learning from what she did to me, but she going to other establishments and doing this to other people. So I'm really not surprised because she been doing this for 2 years, a year. So it's really sad to see.
All right, and y'all just heard that. They said that this woman been going around doing this from different locations, having these same type of interactions and altercations with different people of different establishments. Let you know that this woman is a troublemaker, man. And you can hear from the woman that I believe was victimized talking. That's her talking, and she's basically saying that there's nothing being done about it. You know, so I'm gonna go to Proverbs 29:2. This is what happens when you have a wicked ruler, man. When a man that is wicked ruling a society, guess what? You have these things happening where women and all type of other people that commit iniquity and do wickedness, where they don't even be judged for it. They don't have no type of punishment. That's why these women in America feel like they can do the things in which they do, because they know that they're not going to be punished. They know if they hit a man first or if they hit someone first, the only thing they got to do is cry and play the victim mentality and Esau Edom, because the system was set up to obey women, because it is the opposite of the way the Lord allows things to be ran, which is the man being the lead and being the head of this of a society, you know. But due to the wicked being in rule, right, you don't have that. So I'm gonna read this Proverbs 29:2 in the KJV, and it says, when the righteous are in authority, right, which when Salakia, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, you know. So you won't have to deal with all of these things in the kingdom of heaven. You won't have to deal with rebellious ass women. You won't have to deal with people talking back and not playing their position that the Lord have set them up to be in. You know, you won't have to deal with those things when the kingdom come, when Yahweh Shah Hamashiach is ruling the earth with the 12 and the 144,000 up under him, then the world will be ran in peace, man. The people will rejoice. The people will be able to be, you know, the people will be more in harmony, man, you know. But going further down, it says, but when the wicked bear rule, right, the people mourn, man. And that's why you see the people out here mourning. They're sad. That's why you see this woman, you know, on the video complaining, basically saying that nothing is being done by what this woman is doing. She's very violent. She's very vile, very, you know, negative, man. And nothing's being done to her, because that's what happened when you have a society that's not built based upon the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Bible. This is what happened when you have wicked people ruling the earth, man. You know, so we're going to get back into this video.
Nearly 2 years since Omarion Ford was attacked by a group of customers at the Cheddar's on North Germantown Parkway. Video showed Omarion, who was only 17 at the time, being
I'm not going to show that, you know, I don't want to, you know,
people.
get the video hit with a strike or something.
Police say Caitlin Brantley was one of them. She's now in the headlines in police custody again. Investigators say that in February, Brantley got so upset over a McDonald's order that she climbed through the drive-thru window and beat the manager. Omarion says her recent...
You see? So they already, this is a demon, man. You know? Letting you know, man, that this is, you know, these are the people out here that you have to walk past every day, man. You know? So you brothers and sisters out there, man, you want to be prayed up. Like I said again, you want to be wise. You want to know what time it is we're living in. You want to stay prayed up. You want to stay in the spirit, man. Because you got people out here that's like this, man, that are walking around and they're just looking, you know. Let me go to that precept, the water of the Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. Right? And this is what this woman is. I told you, you know, spirits created for vengeance. They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, man. You got pale spirits created for vengeance. You got so-called BLACK spirits created for vengeance. You got Native American spirits created for vengeance. You know, Latino spirits created for vengeance. All types of spirits created for vengeance. Men, women, children. You know, the Lord, he does, man, it's some evil times we're living in, right? This is Ecclesiastes 39:28, and it says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. And you can clearly see that all of the things they're saying that this woman is involved in and that she's doing, that this woman is a threat, man. She's a problem. But like I said, you know, the wicked's ruling the earth right now, so they're not going to do nothing to her. They're going to continue to let her run around doing the things that she's doing. That's why she's operating in the way she's operating, because she know that there's no say-so. There's no people questioning her for her actions. She's not going to be judged for it. But hey, the Lord is about to bring judgment. That's why the Lord is about to bring the destruction upon this place. Because you see what this place is and how wicked it is, right? Right? So I'm going to read that. I'm going to go to that second Esdras 8:50. You know? Second Ezra 8 and 50, and it says, for many great miseries, right? And when you go into that word miseries, it goes into times of discomfort, times of anger, times of, basically people suffering, man, and being in fear and stuff, right? Being depressed and things of that nature. That's what times we're about to come into. And it says, shall be done to them that in the latter times shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. And this is what happened when you have a society that's built upon pride and people not feeling like they can be told what to do, not receiving correction. You have women running around, bashing people in the head over fries, man. But these are the times in which we're living in. So, that's basically pretty much everything I wanted to say in this video. It was basically a quick hitter, going into, just how wicked and evil things are out there. Are out there. So, Lord's will, you brothers and sisters are edified, and, stay prayed up out there, man. As the Lord says in the book of 1 Thessalonians 5 and 17, I'm going to repeat it again. Pray without ceasing, man, because you see what times we're living in, and these people out here, man, the demonic activity out here in America is ramping up. And that's because we're getting closer to this place being destroyed and judged. So the demons in these people are becoming more fierce. They're becoming more violent. They're becoming more angry. They're becoming more wild, right? And Salakia, let me go to that. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna read this precept before I end the video. The water the Yahbashim Yahushua. This came to me. I'm gonna go to 2 Timothy 3. Right? And these are the times which we're living in. Lay, that we're at the ending of Babylon the Great, aka America. And it says, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And that word perilous goes into times full of danger, times full of risk, times full of, uncertainty. And that's what you basically involved in when you walk outside. You're uncertain. You don't know if you're going to make it home to see your family or to make it home from work and things of that nature, because the days are evil, as I've said. It's very wicked out here. Right? Verse 2, it said, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, men and women, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. Verse 3, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, right? Verse 4, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures, more than lovers of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. Verse 5, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away, right? And that's pretty much everything I wanted to say into this video. Lord's will, you brothers and sisters are edified, until the next time I'm going to say shalom.